Hi guys, welcome to the Empower Hour. This episode is called Like Attracts Like. I'm here with Keith Cronin, founder of SunHedge Energy, an avid yogi and also health enthusiast. And I'm Maile Scarpino. I'll be hosting today. So let's get right into it. Keith, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I started a solar company about 16 years ago, sold it, and after my acquisition of the company, I started doing consulting work and recruiting. So I've been doing, I guess, what I would call service in the community, and it's just been evolving over the years. And one of the things that was really important to me, it's always been important most of my life, like of most of your life, is health. So, you know, how we kind of got to stumble to meet each other, we started talking about health-related issues, and one day we could actually be working together, and ironically, we're here today on this show, so I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, so one of the things that Keith and I have in common, and the reason why this episode was Like Attracts Like, is the way we met and just our views of the world and interacting with other people. Do you want to talk more about Like Attracts Like?
Yeah, I think when you look at most of your life, most of my life, most of anybody's life, you know, whether you're on a professional sports team and you find somebody, hey, you're into soccer, I'm into soccer too, I'm on the soccer team, or if you go to yoga, I go to yoga too, or whatever it is. We find that throughout life, and I think when you're focused on people that are maybe being positive, you're going to be around people that are more positive. Conversely, if you're around people that are negative, you're going to attract people that are negative. So I think there's a true personification of likes attracts life in life, and I think if people are struggling with where they're at in their life, whether it be with health, whether it be with their business, whether it be with their relationships, is if you get around where it's different, you get around where it's better, I think you'll have a better life.
And how do you directly see that in your business? Because I know that's something that you work with people on, is helping them maybe find a job that's a better suit for them.
Good question. I think in the role of recruiting, or just in general in consulting, I find that as a role of recruiter, or some people have called it a headhunter, you know, I'm trying to marry two parties. So I'm trying to marry a company with an individual, and that company has certain needs and the individual has certain needs. So I'm trying to do matchmaking on people's skills and trying to understand, you know, what's driving them to do what they do every day. For example, if someone is unhappy at their current job and they've contacted me saying, hey Keith, I'm looking for a new job, I try to say, you know, what's really going on with you? Is it something in the work environment? And I try to look at the person first before I look at what their career is. If they're an engineer or an attorney, try to figure out what's really driving them. If it's a bad work environment, is it something that's going on in their personal life that's flowing over into their business life? So it's really sometimes part counselor, part, you know, psychologist, and, you know, as you kind of be in that space as well, back to Like Attract Likes, you sometimes have to figure out what's really driving people and saying, you know, maybe you need to work on, you know, what's going on in your personal life, maybe to go exercise some more, or maybe, you know, this person that's frustrating at your current job, maybe, you know, let's talk to your boss about that, let's talk to a coworker, and maybe they're stuck, and maybe you can help them get stuck. And I found throughout life, and I'm sure even with your life, is that when you're in a place of service your whole life, like I know I have been with my business or the things that I've pursued,
right.
It allows you to attract people that are also in a place of service. So I think, you know, that whole Like Attract Like thing goes way beyond just business. It goes on to your personal life and people you meet at the supermarket or in the Lululemon store.
Exactly. Going off of that, that's how we met, was at Lululemon. Keith was in buying some stuff, and I met him, helped him out, and then we kept running into each other at Whole Foods. So it's kind of a cool story how the island's so small and we are a tight-knit community, and you know, we see each other on a daily basis, and it's just making that effort to get to know people and connect with them and form close relationships. Now we're pretty close.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time together. So going off of what we just talked about, what's the number one thing that you think people are missing today in their life, in their perspective?
I think it's satisfaction, and I think satisfaction was deeper, and I'll just kind of go out on a limb here on a business show and talk about, I think what's really missing in life is love. And I think love is a very broad context, but I think back to love, I think a lot of people struggle in life. If you find somebody at work or find someone that's angry all the time, if you really looked at what's going on, they probably have issues with loving themselves or liking themselves, or maybe something they did 10 years ago, 10 weeks ago, 10 hours ago, 10 minutes ago, that they're kind of hung up on, and they get stuck. So I think the mission in life for a lot of people, when they're looking at their circumstance, and I think life is a series of circumstances, so things that happen to you over the course of your life, and you have to look at, am I going to get stuck where I was 20 years ago, 20 days ago, and really analyze that and look at it for what it really is and say, you know, this could be a significant learning experience. So again, it takes the part of recruiting what I do in the daily life. If I'm in Whole Foods and I'm talking to someone that's a cashier or making me a smoothie, just trying to engage them and say what's going on with them. And I think throughout our day, you know, we're lucky living in Hawaii. We live in relatively speaking, a very positive place, but
right.
I think people generally get stuck and they really don't know or don't have the tools or resources on how to escape from what they're thinking every day.
Okay, I like that answer. Going off of that, it just like made me think, You know, we've been studying Rogers in my doctorate classes, and I mean, you talked about the environment, and then you also talked about love. And his theory is all about that in order to reach self-actualization, or in order to climb the top and be the best you can be, you need balance, you need a strong environment, and you need unconditional positive regard. And combining all three of those, you'll be able to experience your own experiences. You'll be able to fully feel them rather than having somebody else tell you what you just experienced. Like the example my teacher gives us is, you know, when a little kid drops an apple and then they pick it up and the mom will go, no, 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 don't eat that, it's sandy. Well, why does it really matter if it's sandy? It doesn't. Like, let them pick it up and eat it and experience it for themselves. Maybe they're going to like it. Maybe they're going to figure out they don't like it, and that's fine. But we all need to have our own experiences and engage in them and learn from them so that we can grow into our own person.
That's right, and make our own experiences, that's right.
Yeah.
I think today, you know, also we're very focused, I mean, you're very focused on education, I am as well, and we talked about this many times about our quest for knowledge. But I think when we have knowledge, doesn't always mean we have wisdom. I think wisdom comes over time when you get to reflect on the knowledge you've experienced. And I think for all of us, if we could focus on, I think another important trait in life today is empathy. You know, a lot of us have our heads down. I mean, I have an iPhone, I'm looking down reading, or I'm doing something, but I think we need sometimes to pick our head up and look at empathy, and, you know, whether it be, you know, being a father, you know, you get to look at your daughter and look at how she's growing. If people have children, they understand. If people don't have children, have cousins or brothers, sisters that have kids, you know, you look at this young mind, and I think children, when they're probably in that, you know, kindergarten, second grade, you know, you see them in the schoolyard, you see them playing, they're playing with blocks, they're in that zone, you know, like where, you know, you call them and they're busy. And I think as we get older and we get focused on the knowledge and we get focused on learning and studying, we kind of lose a little bit of empathy, we lose a bit of that love and that connection because of the strive to grow and to be all we can be, because there's a lot of pressure. And I think competition sometimes can throw us off on what's really important, which is community, which is kind of the foundation, I think, of what we're doing here today, talking about the show is, you know, it's really important if the community is all collaborating and working together in a conducive environment, people are going to be happier, people are going to be healthier, and they're going to focus on what we have in common versus what we don't have in common.
Completely. Going back to empathy, what is the difference, because some people don't really understand this, what's the difference between empathy and feeling sorry for somebody?
Good question. I think it would be empathy and sympathy, right? Like if you, you know, you feel bad for somebody because, you know, the dog ate their homework, you know, and I feel bad for you, Johnny, your dog ate your homework, but really understanding their feelings on an empathetic level is really saying, you know, Maile, tell me how you feel, and just stepping back and listening to what they're talking about, and really being a listener. Like I'm looking at engaging you right now, and just saying, you know what, this is the filter, as opposed to saying, you know, Johnny, I'm sorry, you know, your dog ate your homework, and get back to what we're doing. And I think empathy is a trait that is really
very
important.
difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
And it's very difficult to harness. Yeah. Being able to, I know some of the clients that I work with, being able to sit there and be empathic with them, even though what they're saying may make me mad or make me uncomfortable. I'm trying to get rid of that feeling and realizing, wow, why am I feeling this way? They're not making me feel this way. I'm making myself feel this way, and I can change that. And that goes into perspective and being able to shift your perspective. And I know we talked about that and kind of want to talk about that today, so this is a great shifting point. What do you think about perspective?
I think perspective is important, even as you talk about with the work you do with people in a very awkward circumstance, right? And I think, you know, life is a series of habits, and you probably remember this idea of this book, The Power of Habit. It was written by a guy named Charles Durling, who is a New York Times columnist.
Keith just actually bought me that book, and I'm so excited to read it. Yeah.
But it's the building blocks of life, and when you look at the amount of research this gentleman did, and you look at the team that built into this book, and you look at this you know, the cue, the routine, the reward. We can look at it as dealing with the people that are in drug court. You know, the cue is I don't feel anybody's paying attention to me. The routine is I'm doing some drugs. The reward is I feel good. And you can look at that with food. The book goes into extreme depth, from gambling to food to Alcoa, Fortune 500 companies. There's some amazing stories in there that are not just stories, but they're anecdotal for what's going on in our society today. So if we can look at changing some little routines that we do every day. And in the back of the book, you know, Charles Durling talked about when his wife was teasing him that he gained about 8 pounds. You know, he realized at 3 o'clock at the New York Times, he got up and he would go eat a cookie. So he'd go to the cafeteria and have a cookie, and invariably he gained these 8 pounds. But he broke down what he was doing every day and changed the routine. Was he bored? Did he have to go talk to some coworkers? And he did some different things. I think that's really back to the Empower Hour with people, with women, with men, with relationships, with exercise, with nutrition, is we need to look at our habits that we're doing every day, And really, if whatever we're doing isn't working, we need to change that.
Awesome. And what do you think empowers people?
I think different things, different things make people happy. When I say empower them, I think sometimes people feel happy short term by going to the mall and buying something, right? So that's a short term thing. It's like a drug. It's almost like the drug person that you're talking about.
Right, right.
So I think fulfillment and happiness are sometimes two different things. Happiness can be a short term thing, but fulfillment is something we want to strive for all the time. And it's kind of like an emotional thing. You can be very high one day and very sad the next day, but how do we kind of keep the slow ripple between kind of that X and Y axis? And I think if someone calls you a name or talks down to you, you should kind of be smiling just as much as someone says you're a genius. So, and to maintain that modicum of personality and that modicum of behavior, where things that are, potentially offensive to you. And a few years ago, I read a book called Don't Get Offended, because I realized that, even seeing social media, seeing people being upset during a presidential campaign and saying, wow, you voted for this person, I voted for this person, we're not friends anymore.
So say that again. You wrote a book.
Yes.
What's it called?
It was a couple years ago. It's called Don't Get Offended, Powerful Lessons in Personal Change. But it was really about looking at, where do we start developing these habits? Where do we start developing these ideas about relationships with our family? When did we first learn these things from our mother or father, a caregiver, something going on at Thanksgiving or Christmas at a holiday? Where did we learn things at school? Why did we make these decisions? I have a friend that became a lawyer, and I talk about it in the book. He became a lawyer. Why? Because his father wanted to become a lawyer, and now he's kind of a recovering attorney. So I think we need to start looking at that, at kind of your example of the apple falling down, and mom saying, don't eat that because there's sand on there. Well, maybe we just need to wash it off and let the child eat the apple, right, as opposed to being so interdictive in everything that people are doing.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a short break. This is the Empower Hour. I'm here with Keith Cronin, and I'm Maile Scarpino, and we'll see you in a few.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on the ThinkTech digital series. The show is every Wednesday from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and I want you to watch this show because I think that when we talk with artists on the show about what they do, how they do it, and most importantly, why they do it, I believe that it resonates within each of us, and we find something inside of ourselves that brings us closer to all of humanity. That's what arts are there to do, and that's what I'm here to do on this show. That's Center Stage. It's on every Wednesday from 2 to 3 o'clock. I hope to see you there.
Welcome back to the Empower Hour, guys. Like attracts like episode. I'm Maile Scarpino, and I'm here with Keith Cronin, founder of SunHedge Energy, an avid yogi and health enthusiast. Excuse me. Anyways, so we were just talking about creating a shift in perspective, and we kind of went over habits, and now I'm wondering, like, what is your expertise, and how do you help empower and motivate other people in the community? Because I know you've helped to empower me, definitely. You've created a shift in my life and helped me realize that I have more of an ability to get out there and to help other people. And so I thank you for that. And I'm sure you do it in other areas too, because it's just part of your personality. So you want to talk more about that?
I think, yeah, it goes back to what you said earlier about empathy versus sympathy. Listening is a lost art, we've heard today, right? I know people say, Keith, you have a lot to say, but I'm also listening. I can probably have that Mary Lou Henner. I remember things when the weather was and what was going on at a certain time in life, and that's kind of unusual, but I remember people's conversations from years ago. So I think by listening to someone, which is, again, a lost art of trying to understand where someone's circumstances. I really believe that life isn't a set of, we have this idea in life about, Maile, when you get older, you're going to have a house with white picket fence and 2.2 kids, and I think that's not necessarily the case. So we have to look at people's circumstance and say, where are they at now, and where are they stuck? No matter where you are. If I'm walking out of this studio, when I go walk up Bishop Street and I talk to somebody, I just want to learn more about them and about their life, and understand where they're at psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and then try to say, could you think about doing this? But first you need to listen. Where are they at and where they want to be? If they say they want to lose weight, if they say they want to exercise more, if they say they want to go to church more, if they say they want to travel more, they want to make more money. I wish I say, what's really driving people to do what they're doing every day? And if, for example, even in recruiting, if someone says, Keith, I want to, get this kind of raise. Well, okay, what are you doing to better yourself? Because even in recruiting, I always say when I'm trying to place somebody, when you're going to get placed at a company, they really want to know, how are you going to improve the condition of the company? So are you going to come there with your great spirit? So I think it starts in a few different areas based upon what someone's needs are.
Okay.
And as it relates to yoga, or as it relates to health or fitness, I used to always run, or I would swim or hike, and as I'm getting older, my body's not cooperating, right? So it's saying, hey, I might need to do something else. And the short story is my mom, she's been a yoga teacher for years, and she always said, Keith, I want to go do yoga. And I was I don't really want to do that. I'm more kinesthetic. I want to move my body,
Right, right.
And so one year for my birthday, she said, hey, I got good news for you. I talked to this yoga teacher, and she's expecting you, and the check's in the mail. So I felt, oh, God, I feel this pressure from my mom, right? So
I got to go to yoga.
Yeah, I got to go to yoga.
Oh, no.
So I went to yoga, and the first time I'm there, and I'm, look at the clock, I'm like, when's this going to be over? And now I go, and I can't believe it's over. And I think this for lots of reasons. I think, twisting yourself into a pretzel doesn't make you free. But I will tell you that spending, an hour and a half or 2 hours on this little mat by yourself requires some patience, requires you to not think too much, requires you to breathe, which I think we've kind of also forgotten. Even on the show, if I said, hey, everybody, you got to breathe, take a deep breath, we need to learn to breathe better.
Oh, man, yeah, I need to work on that, too.
Yeah. So by breathing, by spending some time with like-minded people, again, back to this like-attract-like theme that we have for the show today, you go to a yoga studio, there's a bunch of really people that are trying to do their best inside, and by coming one-pointed. And I think even with yoga, it's not a competition. It's not like
It's your own practice.
It's your own practice, right.
And you can do what you want during that time.
Yeah.
You could just lay there if you wanted to, and it wouldn't matter, and there'd be no judgment. I think that's something that's awesome about yoga is the energy in the room that you feel together, too.
Yes.
And at the end, when you're, thanking your teacher and saying namaste, and it's really connecting heart to heart with that person.
Yes, even just looking someone in the eyes for longer than 10 seconds, and probably the U.S. culture, staring at somebody would have a different connotation than being in a yoga studio. Even when someone said to me, well, why do you go there? I mean, why don't you just pop in a DVD? And I say, well, it's being in that environment again. And even, people say, why do people do all this bowing? Where does that come from? And it's really about bowing to yourself. And it may be a little bit deep philosophically for a lot of people, but as you start to spend time there and understand it, they don't tell you, oh, you need to become a Buddhist, you need to think this or that. It's kind of just trying to open up what's already going on inside yourself and some things that you might not even known, because as we go through life, we get kind of somewhat programmed. This is kind of trying to wipe some of that away and just trying to be who you really are authentically and dropping a piece of your ego off. I think by doing that, I know it's helped me being more present in what I do. It's helped me in business, it's helped me in personal relationships, it's helped me meet somebody like you. And just, I think there's just an environment there where people are just, again, everybody's trying to change for their own reasons. It's a place, like you said, without judgment. So that's another reason why I love that environment. And everybody's at their own pace. I bring my daughter there. If, we know if she can't do something, okay, honey, just sit. And I think that's another important thing where nobody has to feel self-conscious about their body image, about their looks. You just kind of go there for yourself.
And how do you think we can get more people involved in this? Because I know, in general, activities are kind of, if they're unfamiliar, people look at them and kind of, they get intimidated.
Yes.
Like, how do you go and lift weights if you're a woman and you don't know what a dumbbell is, you don't know what a bicep curl is? You're going in there and you're basically experiencing a completely different language, and that's really difficult, and you feel like everybody in the gym is watching you, right?
Yes.
So how do we, and same for yoga, you don't know what you're doing. You usually get the newbies go in the back of the class, or they don't try new things because they're scared of making mistakes. So how do we create that shift? What do you think would help to create that shift in our community so people feel more free, they feel like they can be themselves and come and be playful and make mistakes and look silly? Why does it matter so much about creating this image?
Well, I think we're in a very image-oriented society. We have Hollywood to thank for that, and a lot of other pressures that are going on. Look at the mall. Take a walk into the mall. Look at the pressure, right? But I think you need to look beyond the pressure and say, I'm just going to be who I am. Like for you, going to the gym, you're probably a minority there. And just like for me going to yoga, the men are the minority in there.
Completely.
So when I went in there, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of very fit women in here that are doing these poses that I can't do. And even men and women's bodies are different, as you know from your own practice of training, right? So there's a lot of practice in yoga that I cannot do very well that women do fantastically well. So I think it's another part of being humble and saying, I don't know this, but I'm going to trust and have the courage. And I think courage is something that you can grow. It's kind of a muscle. So for people that are watching the show today, they're going to watch the show into the future, men and women alike, as long as you can stay humble and come to a yoga class or go to the gym or go to a Zumba, I think it really comes down to moving your body. And I know I can tell you this emphatically, when you move your body, you feel better. Endorphins are released, whether you're breaking a sweat or not. And if people need to start by just going for a walk a mile a day or walk on the beach, if it's something that's kind of a combined activity. The other thing I think is even more important, one of the things my father always encouraged for me, and I'm sure even your father, as we talked about this, when we met, is that my father always said, you know, you need to have something to look forward to every week.
Right.
And I've always taken that candle and carried it with me wherever I've gone. So for me, it's yoga, you know, and for someone else, it might be going to the gym or going to Zumba, whatever it is. But I think as you start moving your body, you're going to feel better. It has no, you know, after effects besides maybe your muscles are sore. But if you go to yoga, you go to the gym, you're going to sleep better every night. You're going to eat better. You're going to drink more water. So you can start to see this cumulative effect of creating a new habit.
And it's something you can do for your life.
Absolutely.
It's a lifelong activity.
And it is truly, you know, it is the journey, right? The destination isn't I'm going to lift this or I'm going to get to this pose.
Oh, no.
This is kind of a lifelong thing that you can be proud of and you can stay focused on, and it's going to pay dividends way into the future.
Exactly. And I think going off of that too, to get other people involved, it's helpful to be just supportive in the environment that you're in. Like, I feel like if a lady came up to me and was like, hey, how do I do this? I'd be like, hey, I'll show you. You know, and it's creating that society and shifting these viewpoints that we have, that we all are in our little boxes and we can only do what we're doing and nobody can interact with us. I mean, we're all connected and we all need to help each other out and come together and better each other and better the environment. And Hawaii is pretty fit as it is. We do a great job at that, but I think we could be even better. Why not? Why not always excel for the best, right?
Yeah, and it's the environment again. I think when you probably first go into the gym and you look at maybe women there that were doing it ahead of you, it can be somewhat intimidating in the beginning, but get beyond the competition part and get beyond focusing on what you're doing for yourself. And I think that's really hard to do today because everything's a competition. Social media is a competition. Wherever we go, we're seeing people competing. And I'm all about competition too, but I think sometimes it's good to just stay humble and take that filter off. I know when I was telling my friends, even guy friends, you're going to yoga, like, why are you going to the yoga? What do you get out of that? And sometimes it's hard to explain to people or articulate that, and I would say, hey, why don't you come? I probably invited, you know, 30 or 40 people over the years to come to yoga, and they actually said it's transformed their life. So, and
That's
it's
awesome.
those subtle little things, even people that are, women that are pregnant that have gone to yoga, and they've seen a change in their relationship with the people that they're married to. And I think that's the bigger shift too, is that when you start going to yoga as an example, is you take away all the mores and the values that you thought that yoga was or what you thought it was, and you have a new experience. I think that's the other part about this Empower Hour is that, you know, whether it be for women or men or for a community, is to look at what you think you know today, and again, try something new. Like if whatever you work on isn't working, whether health-related, relationship-related, because life is relationships, right?
I love
Everything we
that,
do.
yeah.
So try something new, you know,
Try
step out of
something
your
new,
comfort
get
zone.
out there, yeah, make those connections and better yourself. Yeah. So going off of that, trying something new, because we're kind of like all in our little boxes about health and how we feel about health or eating. What is your take on like nutrition? I know you're writing a book.
Yes.
I will bring that up. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of well, I got two books. One of them's a nutrition book, but the other one's kind of more like a love story, but it's really like back to this idea of yoga. I think if people are back to that place where they love themselves, like is going to attract like. You're going to find people with that same kind of mindset. But back to nutrition, you know, people would say, you know, why would you eat at Whole Foods as an example? And you know, I have a very small family, as you know. And I would rather have Whole Foods make the food and go to eat there, not every day, but and I look at today in our society when we look at how much food waste is thrown out. I mean, if you look at Snapshot the day of this show, if you go back about 2 days ago on NPR, they say we waste probably about 35 to 40% of the food in our country. So we buy food from the supermarket, we either don't eat it all or cook it and overcook it and throw it away. So we're creating this huge waste problem with food, and I think we're not even getting all the nutrients out of it.
Right.
So I think health is really important in regard to nutrition as well, in regard to eating right. You know, if you eat something light, I tried an experiment for the last 5 or 6 months of the summer, from probably May to the end of the summer, about trying to eat lighter, trying to eat less protein, eating more green stuff. Not that I only lost weight, not that I was trying to lose weight or I needed to, but I actually have more energy. So I think there's a direct association, eating things that are healthier for you, eating salad, eating smoothies or green drinks, and eating things that are just kind of freshly picked. Even eating fruit throughout the day. When people say, Keith, I don't have energy throughout the day, there's that old saying at 2, 3 o'clock I'm feeling tired. Well, go get a banana, go eat an apple, go have some fruit, have some natural sugar boost as opposed to going get a can of soda as an example.
Right.
I think it's hard for a lot of people because that habit's already been built. I'm going to have my Coke Classic at 2 o'clock and it's going to power me through the rest of the day. So how do we get people to be empowered through the rest of the day? And I think it's through a natural sugar or a natural way to get our fruit and our nutrients in our life.
And how do you think we create these habits? What is your I mean, there's always the I can't even say
Pavlovian
it.
way.
Thank
yes,
you.
Yes.
Of conditioning the dog. But do you think that's the way humans are, or what do you think the take on that is?
I think it's environment, and I think it's choice. So environment's hard. You know, if you grew up in a family, you and I did, you know, having Italian roots, you know, we're going to have
Oh,
pasta.
me too.
We're going to have lasagna,
I have
and we're going
pasta
to have
every night.
or you come from an Asian family and you could have lots of rice. So, you know, we all have our own carb problem, I want to say.
Right.
But we need to look at, you know, what have we been taught from our families, and then, you know, how can we modify what we're doing today? And I think it's an incremental thing. And people tell me it takes, you know, 20 days to change a habit. It might even take longer. It depends upon your willpower.
I know when I played volleyball, it was 1,000 reps. 1,000 reps to break a habit and 1,500 to create a new.
Yeah. And it requires a lot of willpower. I really believe that. So the willpower and the habit thing are kind of combined. And again, you have to be by yourself. You know, if for you, if you're saying, you know, I'm going to go to the gym today, and your friends don't want to go with you, you have to have the courage, and you have to have the motivation and discipline. Again, that willpower to go to the gym. Like people say, you know, why are you going to go to yoga tonight? I'm like, I'm going to go, and I'll take care of that work stuff later. But I need to go now for me, so I know that if I'm healthier, I'm going to be much more available for you, for clients, for people I meet on the street, and be really spiritually available, and look them in the eyes and give them 100% of my attention, and have the empathy muscle working to its maximum ability. So I think people think that, you know, you need to compartmentalize nutrition or exercise or whatever. And I said, no, it's all connected, kind of like what you said earlier. So if we're not taking care of our bodies, if we're not getting enough rest, we're not drinking enough water, invariably something's going to suffer, and maybe our relationships are going to suffer.
Can you give me like an example that you've maybe experienced?
Meaning myself personally, or been on the receiving end of that?
Ooh, both. Like I know if I don't get sleep, it is the death of me.
Yeah.
And I'm horrible for days, and that's something that I've really learned that I need. I think I can go without sleep, and I'm like, I'm 24, and I'm invincible, and I can do it, and then it hits me, and no, I need my sleep. I need to take care of myself. Like you said, I need to say, no, these are my priorities, this is what I need to do, and get things done.
Well, I think it's true. I think sleep is, you know, you'll probably hear stories about newscasters that need 5 hours of sleep a night. They're more the 1% crowd, but the 99% of us, we need to have sleep. We need to have sleep to regenerate cells, to regenerate muscles, as you know, being in the gym.
To hit REM, you
Yes.
need REM in order to rest your brain.
Yeah. So I know we all need that, and I think if we don't get that, you know, people become cranky. You look at in society today, look at people that are sleep deprived. They're a little bit edgy. They're going to go get a cup of coffee to basically, you know, reduce the symptom, which is kind of even a bigger issue with our society today, I think, with nutrition, you know, and the level of healthcare challenge that we have, and the amount of size of the hospitals that we're building today, and the expansion of the hospitals, because we're dealing with the symptoms. We aren't dealing with the core issues of what's going on in our society with health and
We're
longevity.
putting Band-Aids on things.
Absolutely.
And that goes exactly into what I wanted to talk about next. So like the problems and the boundaries you think that are involved in changing perceptions and empowering people to be able to change those perceptions and create the shifts in society. Where do you see the holes?
Well, I think I go back to this idea. I mean, I'm an owner of an iPhone, as we have this show, and I know there's a lot of people have iPhones, and we get caught in this whole tribal thing. You know, being a dad, I can tell you this, there's a lot of pulling on a dad on his daughter with, you know, I want this or I want that, and I think it's very easy to get caught up in the tribe. So sometimes we need to ask ourselves, do we want to follow the tribe or do we want to lead the tribe? And we look at great thought leaders of the world, and there's plenty of them to point to, whether it be in health, whether it be in science, whether it be in CEOs of companies. But I think we need to say, you know, I'm going to do something a little bit different.
Right.
And I think that requires, again, a lot of courage to say, you know, I'm not going to the bar tonight. I'm not going to have the second plate lunch today.
Well, completely, because you're the outsider.
Yes.
You're the, you know, you look nuts. Well, I mean,
Yes.
a lot of our great thinkers, people did think they were
Yes.
nuts.
Yeah, so, and it's okay to feel like that, and I think this is where, again, having the courage to say, you know what, I know I'm a little bit different, I'm going to have a salad tonight, or I'm going to go to yoga tonight, I'm going to go to the gym today when everybody else is doing something different. Just don't feel bad, and I think that's part of that whole, you know, the kind of the genesis of the book, too, of not being offended by what somebody says about what you're doing.
But how do you think we create that courage? Like for you, where do you get that courage from? Because not everybody, it's not innate in everybody. You know, growing up,
Yes.
how there's always that group of people who just kind of followed whatever the popular kids were doing
Yes.
or whatever. How do you think you develop that courage and develop that sense of independence and ability?
I think it's the, somebody asked me this yesterday, you know, like, you know, I came to Hawaii 16 years ago, I didn't know anybody, started a business and sold it, and, you know, I think I'm not afraid to fail. And I think for a lot of people, they're afraid to fail. When you look at entrepreneurs, I've had a lot of failures in my life. I could list, we could do about 10 shows on my failures. But being not afraid to fail, or not being afraid to, like with recruiting, contacting a company and saying, you know, Keith, you sound like a great guy, you seem very knowledgeable, we already found somebody to fill that role. Okay, thank you. And I always try to add value when I'm having a conversation. Well, let me help you with this. So I think life is always about giving, right? And if you're not afraid to fail, and you're not afraid to try, or you're not afraid to give, then you have nothing to worry about. But again, it's courage. So maybe I do have more courage than the next person, but I think it's a learned thing, and it's really about choices. So a lot of people are afraid to try. And so you got to be, out there. And if we're speaking to women, and this is Empower Hour, and this whole idea of when we got together about having a show was really for me to talk about women, about empowering women. And having a daughter, I can tell you, it's very important to me. But I think it's even more important. I love to have other people on the show that can expound on it, that are women. But at the end of the day, we really need to figure out how can we give women and people in general the courage to try and fail. If they fail, it's okay. If they go to the gym once and they strain their arm, okay, when your arm heals up or your hamstring heals up, come back in 6 weeks. But we want to give people the ability and the proclivity to change, and that requires being okay with failing.
Awesome. We're going to take a short break, guys. This is the Empower Hour. I'm Maile Scarpino, and I'm here with Keith Cronin, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Hi, my name is Sachiko Slomov. I'm the floor manager of ThinkTech Hawaii here. You can join us on the air every weekday from 1 to 5, or off the air at thinktechhawaii.com. We stream all of our videos and all of our amazing shows at thinktechhawaii.com or on our Ustream channel. You can also check us out on Twitter at ThinkTechHI or Instagram at ThinkTechHI also. I'll be listening, and I hope to see you there. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen. I'm the host of Likeable Science on ThinkTech Hawaii. We talk about why people should like science, why science is actually fun, how science is a dynamic and vital part of everyone's life, why everyone, every man, woman, and child on the planet should really know science, should love science, should be familiar with science. So it's a great show. People come on here and have interesting conversations with us. They tell us why they do what they do, why they love it, why we should love it too. I hope you'll join us every Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. And of course, you can see it anytime on YouTube. Aloha.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel. I'm here with Liz Shue, and we love agritech. In fact, she's from the Department of Agriculture, and we're underwater, gurgle, 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 and we love things that have to do with agriculture, aquaponics, hydroponics, all that. So Liz, what is your interest in this?
To grow more local food for local people.
I knew that.
Yes.
Okay, it's 4 to 5 every other Monday. Come and see us on Agritech in the Islands. I'm Jay Fidel. Come learn with us. We'll see you then.
Aloha.
Welcome back, guys, to the Empower Hour. I'm here with Keith Cronin, founder of SunHedge Energy, and avid yogi and health enthusiast. And I'm Maile Scarpino. And now we have somebody really special that we want to introduce you to. Ta-da! This is Claire. This is Keith's daughter. Say hi.
Hi.
So Claire, we want to ask you a few questions because you are a budding young lady who empowers, I'm sure you empower a bunch of the girls in your class, and you're super smart and you do really well in your academics. And I think you're a really good role model for young girls, so I totally wanted to talk to you and ask you some questions. So what empowers you?
Music.
Yeah, in what way does music empower you?
It helps me through my day. It makes my day.
In what way?
Like, if I'm having trouble on math, it just helps me feel better.
It makes you feel excited and happy. Is there anything else that empowers you? What about your dad? How does your dad support your wishes and your dreams and your ambitions?
He helps me with school.
Yeah? What exactly does he help you with?
Sometimes with homework, and sometimes if he had to sign my planner.
Okay, awesome. And how do you feel that you help other girls, like other young girls, reach their goals or see the potential in themselves?
Sometimes I help some girls in my class with homework at study hall.
Okay, and what's that like?
Well, it's really quiet in there, and it's basically when you do your homework. So I just help them if they're struggling.
Okay. So if I have trouble on math, you'll help me maybe? What if I cry? Will you help me? Like, how will you help me?
I would help you by going with you through a problem. If it was a math problem, I would help you with it. I'd go with you through it, and if I couldn't help you enough, then I'd ask the teacher.
Wow. You're really taking the extra steps. That's awesome. Well, thank you. for sharing
Yeah.
that with us. Anything you want to add, Keith? Or ask her?
Well, I think at school, I guess I've heard, speaking to your teacher, you're doing really well. And I've also heard that, when other kids in the class are struggling, she's willing to volunteer to help other kids, right? And I think that's really important.
It is really important.
Supporting your community at a very small level inside your classroom of 25 students is equally important. So, and it's kind of full circle for even having a conversation today of, empowering young girls. And I think boys are dense by nature. I could probably say that with we're kind of dense, but when women are young and they can grab a hold of the reins at an early age and can help other kids in the classroom, we think that's great because again it's back to the community and like attracts like. So when there's other kids in the classroom that are struggling and somebody can go help them, whether it be Claire or whether it be another student, I think that's great because it doesn't create this competition again. It raises the boat out of the harbor. So I think that's really important in society today.
Raises the morale
Yes.
and the friendships and the connections in the classroom.
And then by doing that, I think we do something else which is really significant, which I think when I was a child, it really wasn't kind of talked about a lot, but is this theme today in schools, which is bullying. And I think bullying comes from people being insecure. So if someone doesn't know the curriculum or someone doesn't know something or someone looks different than somebody
And
else.
doesn't feel so self-confident about themselves, it's easiest to target others.
That's right. So by having an environment where students are helping each other in the classroom is going to really raise the bar for everybody in our society, and we need to actually give them the opportunity to do that and give them a voice. So if they want to say, you know what, I'm going to raise my hand in school, and can I help the other students because they're struggling, I think that's what we want teachers to do. And invariably, everybody does better because everybody feels like they're the same in regard to, I look the same. It's not about someone's being smarter or dumber. It's really about helping each other in the community. And that's really, the circle of life. We need to help each other in whatever we're doing.
Oh, completely. Love it. Love how empowering you are. You totally empowered me for the day. And I really need some help on math later. So I hope you can help me out there. Yeah? Okay, so we're almost done, but we do want to cover why this whole segment is important and how it reaches a larger population and why it's important in our community. So why is changing a person's perspective important? Why is understanding the concept of like attracts like important?
I think it touches many boundaries, as we've just had a new governor come in and part of his campaign he talked about, there's plenty of jobs in Hawaii and, historically, kids that are born here, they might leave to go to college somewhere and they never come back because we don't think there's opportunity here. And I think we have a huge opportunity to actually look at our community in a very different way today. We're very social media connected, the show being what it is on Ustream and eventually being on YouTube. So I think we have the ability to actually help our family and help our community. And I think one of the amazing things about Hawaii, it's very community oriented. And I think we just need to raise the consciousness, raise the awareness of the possibilities for people. So I think a lot of times when people go home and remember what's going on in their home, they don't know if they have other choices, And I think parents that have big families, and I grew up in a very big family.
Do you think everybody has different choices? Like, is that a possibility for people to have a different choice in what they're in?
I think people have different circumstances, and I think they need to be aware of that they can make other choices. I think that's the difficult part. If you have for example, a family structure where it's very disruptive, or there's an environment where, maybe somebody came from another country and they're not even educated as much as you are, as somebody that's an immigrant, there's a little bit of a difficulty there with, how do we kind of integrate somebody from a language perspective or culturally. But invariably, if we have schools, if we have community, if we have neighbors, if we have people that are doing the good things, and I think for me, it's always about role modeling. So if you look around the community, I mean, you went to Yolanda, you're playing volleyball, you're attracted to something, right? And all of a sudden somebody says, wow, I see some potential in you, and let me coach you. And I think that's really kind of a metaphor for life. If you're looking for a coach, you're looking for somebody that can help you, look around your community, people are doing things really well, and say, can I spend some time with you? Can I have coffee with you?
And I think we miss that, just in general. Like, rather than, applauding people for doing good things and looking at that, we're always looking at the cup being half empty and being like, oh, well, here's the couple parts where you missed.
Yes.
And it's such a downer. It makes people feel horrible about themselves. Because here they are, they've done monumental things and it's not being noticed.
Yes. Yeah, I think Mary Kay said it really well a few years ago in the back of Harvard Business Review. What do people want more than money and sex? And that's appreciation. And I think when you can appreciate it, as you just kind of pointed out, the good things that people did, it's easy to say there's 100 questions on a test to a young mind, and you got 99 right, but there's one wrong. We're going to lambaste you for that. I think we're having a wrong approach. And the perfection part isn't what's important. You know, it's really about having that growth inside and having people make different choices at any age. You know, people going to college today that are my age, so they're going to school at nighttime, and we need to be able to give them the tools and resources and the confidence that they can do it. And they need to be around where it's different and around where it's getting better. And again, back to this idea of having a coach. I look at going to yoga for me as an example, or for you, you have a coach, right?
I do.
You need somebody to guide you, and if it's somebody in yoga that's a teacher, just let them guide you. Let them take you through these little steps. And you know, I'm always a student in life, and I think that's the other part about it too. If you can stay humble and always be the student, then the teacher's always going to show up, and someone will guide you. So if there's people that are watching this program that are struggling with whatever it is, with math, with their weight, with their marriage, you know, say, you know what, I need to be humble right now. I am struggling with this piece. I need to tap into the community. I need to tap into a business person that can help me with that.
And ask for help.
And ask for help.
Yeah, and go for it, and not be afraid. It's like you were saying earlier that about not succeeding and not being afraid to fail. That's something that I guess we have in common. Again, my dad always taught me, you know, if you fall down, it doesn't matter, just get back up. Because if you fall down enough times, the person next to you is going to stop getting back up, and you're just going to keep going. And so throughout my life, that's kind of how it's been. And I feel like even though I'm only 24, whatever I want to accomplish, I will do it, because I meet people that are supporting me through like attracts like. I have this tendency to get up even though it may hurt, you know, and I don't want to get up. But I think if we all can develop that type of personality and habit, you can definitely achieve whatever you want to achieve.
It's all about the peer group, I would agree. And to go back in time, you know, I had a business, I sold it in 2007, but in about 2004, I was in business and I was kind of struggling with a few things. And it's a long story, but I said, you know, I need some help, and I need to know where to go. And I was networking with some people, and they said, you know, you should look into this organization. And it was a group of 400 companies around the globe that all share best practices and ideas and things and systems and processes.
Right.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to join this organization because there's people there that are older than me, that have suffered before me, and that know how to do this, and they're going to help me. And invariably, I think it not only got my business on track and really focused and had the metrics right and had the right people in the organization. I learned about a lot of different things, but it prepared me to sell my business. But it wasn't even about selling the business. It was about learning a new way of looking at things. I think it's the same thing for this show and the same thing for our community, is that whatever you're doing now, if you're struggling with it's not working, just have a piece of humble pie. So let me just look at something else. Let me look at, again, if they're not happy with how they look, their physique, I'm going to go see Maile at the Y and go to the gym. I'm going to see Keith at yoga.
Do it.
So,
Come see me at the Y. I train at the YMCA. I knew want to. Woo.
yes.
I'm willing to help you any day, anytime. And I know Keith is too. Dude, that's what we were put here for, is to help other people and expand knowledge and bring everybody together. What's the point of having greatness or being able to reach greatness if you're not able to share it with other people and elevate them too, right?
That's right.
It's part of this whole empowering adventure that we are on right now.
I don't remember who said this, but it's a great quote, and it's one of those things, you know, people don't really remember what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel, right? So every day, if you're at the gym and you're helping somebody, or even what I'm doing with my work, I can make that impression. I made them feel better about themselves or about what they're doing, and give them that encouragement. Even being a father, if I can impress upon my daughter to just try, just keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. I know you don't understand it, but just keep trying incrementally. And life is like that. I mean, it's these little iterative changes that we need to do every day, and it requires, again, that discipline, that muscle, that power of habit that we talked about earlier in the early part of the segment to make these changes. And that requires discipline, it requires desire, it requires fortitude.
And do you think parents play a large part into that, growing up?
I do. I think they can go either way. You know, for me, it might have been a little bit different, coming from a large family, and by the time they got to me, they were probably tired and can do whatever you want to do. But I think giving kids, back to your earlier example of the apple, let the apple fall on the ground and, you know, dust it off and pick it up and eat it, and letting people empower them. And I think, you know, a few years ago, I read a great book. It was called Parenting with Love and Logic. You know, being a single parent, I need to understand things, how to do things. And it was a great symbol in the book. These two doctors, Faye and Faye, they're in Colorado. And the simple example was, you know, when Claire was little, and it's an example for life, is that, you know, when you're trying to get your child to do something, their example was, which again in Colorado they have snow, they would say, instead of saying, hey Maile, put your jacket on, and because you're being defiant, you don't want to put your jacket on. But what they would say, okay Maile, do you want to wear a jacket or do you want to carry it? So I think when you give people choices too, they can recognize making one of those two choices and also understand the ramification of those choices.
Oh, I like that.
So instead of me telling you what to do, I'm giving you some choices. And I think we also learn that way too. You know, if we listen to everything our parents told us, anybody that's watching us would tend to agree that we're not going to listen to what our parents say for the most part because we want to figure out on our own.
Yeah.
But if we got two choices instead versus being told what to do, we can look back at that lesson, look back at what we made our own experience, made our own choice, and learn from that. I think it's a different way of learning about life as well.
Is there anything that you've learned? Have you learned life lessons?
I learned how to be a good person from Daddy.
Yeah. What did he teach you?
He taught me not to be selfish and humble.
And how does that come out in your day-to-day life?
It gives me a good attitude every day.
Right on. I love it. So cool. Okay. Well, let's see what else you want to talk about. I mean, there's so many different ways we could go here, huh? There's just so much info.
Pick a topic.
I know, there's so many, we could talk for days. Let's go back to yoga and just centering the mind. And do you think that yoga can help somebody reevaluate their perspective?
Absolutely. I give someone an example. I actually clear an example. I might have shared with you, but I'll share it with your audience, is that often our brains are going full tilt, right? It's hard to separate the brain from the body. And so when someone's getting stuck and they were saying, maybe I want to go to yoga or try something like yoga, but being still. And being still is probably something I'm not always very good at and haven't been most of my life, and maybe,
I'm horrible at it.
But by spending that time sitting down, and the idea would be if you could look at your thoughts, kind of like when you go to the movies and you're sitting in the movies, you look up and you see that little hole where the light's coming through and the movie's being projected on the wall. That's kind of how I would kind of analogize our thoughts. So if you can stop sometimes and look at what you're thinking and say, just watch it go by, kind of like the clouds, and just watch it like a movie. Don't be in the movie, but just watch the movie. And it's hard to separate yourself from your thoughts because we're thinking, does someone like me, or did I do good on my test? We're always doing this self-evaluation. They're always thinking. And sometimes I think when we think too much, we lose who we really are. And somebody said to me a long time ago when I first started going to yoga, meditation is your most natural state. I don't know that to be true because I'm very driven, but I think, what the core issue is, if you can learn to be still and watch your thoughts and not get so caught up in, wherever you're feeling right now. Not to say you shouldn't validate or not validate your feelings, but I know that in my life, whenever I felt stuck for myself, I just go out and serve and go help somebody. I think when you look at the Mother Teresa of the world, or even currently like former President Jimmy Carter, he's still working for Habitat for Humanity, getting really up there.
Right.
He's always in a place of service. And I think when you look at people in society today that are in that place of service, invariably they're going to feel better. So I try to, anywhere I'm at, how I met you. Hey, I saw you walking through the store. Hey, can I talk to you a minute? Let's talk about this idea.
Yeah.
So as you know, when you're in a place of service and you're giving, invariably you're going to feel better. And when you feel better, you're getting it back to that whole natural state of where we were in the full circle of even being in yoga. And it's really about when sometimes people think, well, you keep giving away your time. No, you're serving others. And to me, that's a real big issue.
Well, awesome. With that, guys, we're going to end. This was the Empower Hour. I'd like to thank Keith and Claire. Thank you so much for coming and helping me with my first show.
And thank Molly for actually inviting us for a show. It's been incredible.
That was awesome. Get out there, guys, and empower yourself. And we're always here to support you. Have a good one.